It's a very long and fascinating story. When the Daily News merged with the Advocate, it was time for decision making as to whether I would accept what the Advocate would offer, a position to work with them, or whether I would seek what quote unquote could be a different environment of work for self-development, I thought, mainly. So I decided that I will go into the Barbados shipping and trading to an offer that they had in the newspaper to work with the airline. But before that, when I was with the Daily News, before it closed, like I said at the very beginning, we had this situation where we were all bitten by the, whatever you can call it, an insect which said journalism is your main calling for life. And that never healed. That never healed. It just carried on and carried on and carried on. So inevitably, those of us who were extraordinarily committed, and it was a very young team and a very committed team. At that time, it was Carl Moore and the late Harold Hoyt, the late Ridley Green, and some others, all of whom we agreed that we should not allow our profession to struggle and suffer because of the merger of the Daily News. And all of that discussion came several discussions as well, and it led to what turned out to be, how do we get going if we start a paper? What are the real constraints in starting a newspaper? But it was not as simplistic as we initially thought, evidently, because we thought we can get going and me at 22, you think that it's happening with a snap of a finger. It doesn't quite work that way. So we sat and discussed it, and Harold was one of the chief people who in fact understood exactly what we should be doing and how we should do it and why we should do it. So perhaps he was the one who instigated what in fact developed out of our meetings to form a newspaper, The Nation, and that was the beginning. Now when we got to the stage where the costing for a newspaper came about, there was not too many people who were excited as they were at the very beginning, because the costings then in this day would have been very low, but then they were phenomenally high for us. And having very little or no income, and having little or no savings, it meant that we were supposed then to find an avenue to get the required sum of money to begin. So that story began. That's why it says long and fascinating. The fascination about that part of the story now was that it meant we had to go off to the bank individually, and off we went. And although the sums was not astronomical for us, it was very high, because our salary was not that big to cover a huge amount of loan. However,
what sort of money were you talking?
We were talking then, I think it was about $2,000 per person, and we went off and I explained that the first question that I was asked to the bank: why do you want to borrow $2,000 to invest in a project? Do you wish us to go through with it and sell it off you and say, well, I said, no. It's not an ordinary project. And all I need from you is the loan. Want to lend me the money? If you can lend me the money, then we will carry on all the developmental process, which we are more than capable of understanding. So we don't need, thanks very much, but the concept of do this, don't do that, because we won't have time for that. And the truth is, time was a factor, because we were extraordinarily anxious. Having reached that stage, it meant that we really wanted to get things going, right? So they loaned me money quite simply, and that was beginning. So we collected our money, those of us who were fortunate to have the funds at the time, and we put it all up, and that was beginning for us. So we had to start with something, but then of course, as you would have heard, tragedy struck when the press, that we were talking about, which would have been part of the loan process to get that going. When that fell and broke down and disintegrated and whatever else went along with it, literally a crash. That's the short term of it all. So then we were still not daunted by our position at all. We weren't daunted in any way. We thought that there has to be another avenue to get the paper going. And the Trinidad concept, clearly developed by Carl Moore and Harold Banfield and some other people there who were very, very astute, that was the avenue that opened to us, and we grabbed it. We grabbed it. I mean, not just grabbed it literally, but we held on to it very tightly. We clung to it because we recognized that this is one that can't really slip us now. And we tried to forget the accidents of the press, but we weren't prepared to let this one slip to have another memory. And we started, and we had a little hut called a house down by St. Mary's place there, and we settled in as our home. And there we produced what we thought were the qualities that would ensure us and enhance our reputation as we went along with a newspaper like The Nation. We determined what the content should be. We determined how we'll go about getting that content, and we decided that it has to be of a quality that appeals not only to some people, but to most people, and above all to young people as well. And we looked at all the areas that can be covered in every aspect, including sport, which was my assignment.
Mm-hmm.